Hello and welcome to CSP Financial Group. I'm Sophal Pettit, your host for this podcast. Here we dive into the world of financial literacy and explore the invaluable work of our advisors. Thank you for joining us, and I hope you enjoyed this episode.
All right. So today conversation we focus on being in business with spouse, whether either assistant or supportive partner, maybe advisor, like side by side. But today we're talking to you with Miss Marianne Poole, who with working side by side, but also as an assistant with her husband with CSP firm and helping from the back office, correct? And
Correct.
so, welcome, Marianne, and thank you for joining me to discuss on this topic. So, let me start with this question. So, what intriguing you, to say, hey, I wanted to join, you know, side by side, working, supporting you in this business with you, because I have seen Mike for a long time. you know, like he show up and he to different meetings and a lone wolf for a long time. And I
Right.
did saw you. I'm really excited about that. So that's what intrigued me to really wanted to know more about, what intrigued you to come on board with him.
Well, thank you for having me. It was a slow process, though, because I had no interest at all in working side by side with Mike. I didn't think originally that it could even happen, that us being in the same, location for that amount of time. But several years ago, he um, he basically told me that I was going to attend a conference for the weekend, and it was during COVID and everything had gone to Zoom. So he sold me on it that I wouldn't have to leave the house and I, could be on the couch, have my dogs with me, and tied into a weekend long American
Dreams,
extreme
American dreams, yeah.
experience. And I did get a lot out of it, but I still was not. I think he was just trying to get me more on board of understanding what it is he did, not so much having me come work for him. But it was probably about 5 years ago when he had planted the seed, and I rejected it immediately. And then I really got a lot out of that experience, and it still was maybe a year or so later that I attended that same conference
Hmm.
again. But it was more of, I wanted to attend it. It was more my idea. It wasn't, told that I needed to be there. I wanted to hear it again and learn more. And I just went in with a much more open mind of
Hmm.
what it was. And through that time, I think I was just hearing Mike more and experiencing more of hearing him talking to people, and that it was more of a people business and a
Hmm.
relationship business than just numbers. And I don't know. I couldn't relate to any of it because um, I'm not a black and white numbers person. I'm a social, interactive person. And
Hmm.
that started to come together for me. I started to see that in his business. So it kind of just by him planting little seeds helped me on my timeline and my pace, or me thinking it's my idea, not his idea, of being a little more open to it. And then just, and one, he was doing everything on his own and
Hmm.
working many, many hours. And I did, so seeing as well how, like, I don't know how he could maintain doing the amount of work he was doing on his own. So it did all kind of come together at the perfect timing of me being more open minded, seeing the people side of it, which is what appealed to me, and him really needing to let go of that administrative side of it and him focus on the people as well and building the business. And
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of over the last 2 years what we've been doing, but there's been a big learning curve for me. So
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that too is falling into place. We're finding our rhythm, certainly with bumps along the road, and I was still working another job. So we're excited that just now coming into this summer, at the end of June, this month, I will be full time for him 100%. I had still
Mm-hmm.
been tethered to another job, emotionally, and they just needed that support. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy to think about just even the idea of devoting 100% to it, because I've not been able to do that at all during this time. And I feel like now I'm really at the point where I'm ready and I only want to focus on um,
Mm-hmm.
our business and
Yep.
not all of the outside factors.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see what happens, but it just, it had to become my idea though. So you know how that is too.
Yeah.
I wasn't
Uh-huh.
going to be told that I'm coming to work, for him. It had to be,
Mm-hmm.
where I came along at my pace
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
with
Yeah.
doing that.
Yeah, that's so good to hear though. I don't think that he think of working for him. It's more like a partnership type that you're
Yeah,
working with him, and alongside of all of that is you get to be, his partner, and you get to be his sidekick, and all of that. You get to learn what the business is all about, and the people that you get to help to see their lives being transformed on what we do here in this field. And it's like you said, this business is not about numbers. It's a people business. We deal with people from all walks of life, from people who from having $0 who have no hope, to
right,
have all kind of hopes and dreams, that they look forward to, and the dreams that they set out for their next generations. It's been amazing journey for me and Charles for the last 30 years to witness that. And also not just witnessing that, but for me, the reason why I came into business is it because I wanted my life to change, because we didn't know anything about finance and money and how to handle that and how to make our money works for us. And we struggle to go to different advisor, different agents to help us, but in turn around, it was just finding out the hard way, you
right,
know, get taken advantage of, and then they didn't do a good job for us. And it's not so much of their fault either. It's just that a lot of people are getting into the business you know just
learning as
con-
you go.
yeah, and they consider it just a job for them, right?
Right,
For us, I think we take it more personal. It's our missions and our purpose in life, to really truly help, other families beside ourselves. When we see our own self have changed dramatically when it comes to our finances, we were able to apply that same process to help other people to achieve the same things. So that's what I'm so super excited about. And I'm like you, I have a privilege to work in the field with as advisor and being agents through the previous company, and I chose to let those license go. It's because I'm not, I don't enjoy being out there talking about numbers, dealing with strategies, planning.
right,
Yeah, I enjoy talking, um, more of a connections and a more deeper conversation in terms of what's going on inside of their finance, of in terms how it affects their families level.
right.
and how can I help them to achieve that, to have a peace of mind around their finance if I can just get to know them a little bit more and find out, where do they lack of, and then I can bring the right kind of advisor to support that. And that's where I'm good at doing those part of process. And I enjoy doing those, but not on the statistic part where strategy part where they're sitting there, calculating numbers or, and looking at all the paper and all their statements and that's just not for me. And yeah,
I agree. Yeah,
yeah,
but building helping to build the
the
relationships
relationship. Yes. Yeah. And I
with
can
it.
see that
So
you can do that as well. You are very good at, at connecting the dots with the clients, and maybe you can bring that a lot more closer and faster for, two better than one for Mike's to really excel in what he do because it's very important. Yeah. And it's such incredible to have like spouse being in the same team. It's a lot stronger than
yeah,
just
and
one.
having common goals, but still having your individual goals too, and with
Yes.
development, and that has shifted too. When you're doing something new and there's excitement involved, and um, I had in mind all these other things I wanted to do too to
Mm-hmm.
help build Mike's business, but also to where I could be building the business, and I really think it was getting caught up in all of it and the excitement to where that's not really my desire to run along next to him. I really do want to be like in the supporting role and doing
Mm-hmm.
my piece and doing that well, but
Mm-hmm.
not to, I, you and I separately have talked about how much time they can spend working on things
Yes.
and how much time can go by and doing that to where I am already seeing a little more balance with that. But I don't have the desire for us both to be working that intensely. I want it to where I can ease that burden some to so that he can also maintain a healthy life, and that we can, as we're getting older, afford to with time and money to do things together because we're not ready to retire. And I think Charles very much, I don't know if you feel the same way, like you don't picture retiring from this because it is a people business and it's enjoyable, but to make
Mm-hmm.
sure that you can balance, that you're not working all the time, that you can
Mm-hmm.
start to enjoy some of those things together. So I was also excited, I think, in just this stage of my life of leaving more of a career and coming into this as a team, but working together in a business, but where we're on the same page and on the same schedule and setting goals together and taking the downtime together when,
Mm-hmm.
when that is when we're able to, or uh, to afford to do that and let it be like a
Mm-hmm.
different little phase of retirement without retiring, but enjoying the benefits of all of the hard work,
Yes.
with that.
Yes.
And I think we were traveling different roads, even though we both were helping people. I love the idea of us, getting on the same page. And that was not a desire of mine. I never really thought about it. So it
Yeah.
does excite me that I do think about it now. Like I think about it all the time. But even earlier today, I said, would you ever talk to an employee like this? And I said, and I know I wouldn't talk to a boss like this. So trying to find that balance though of, not being so comfortable with each other that we take each other for granted of what we need to do, or being appreciative of the other, because that's
Mm-hmm.
easy too, to just bark out orders at each other and not, not keep it professional all the time,
Yeah.
behind the scenes and getting stressed out with each other. That I think we have a lot more grace for other
Mm-hmm.
people in our lives. So I think it's good for us long term. We've been married almost 35 years. So I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we know how to be around each other, but I think finding a good balance of still having that mutual respect and friendship and not getting so I think we're very quick to get agitated because we're so comfortable with each other, and I'm trying to find balance because I don't want it to be that way for either of us. You know, I've always
Yeah.
loved my work environment, and um, I don't want to change that or treat him differently than I would anybody else I'm working with, and be aggravated or snap at him or do whatever. So I still am trying to find that balance too of doing my job or my responsibilities the way I would for somebody I didn't know as well.
Right.
So we're still figuring that out, but I still think we're a good team, and I've already seen differences in him not running ragged. He still works a lot of hours, and I love that work integrity about him, his work ethic. But I don't want it to where he's on calls till 9 o'clock every night or starting
Mm-hmm.
at 6 a.m. every day. I want him to have some rest and leisure with part of that too. So
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so good that you look out, for him, and you look out, for him on that way, and also setting boundaries around his schedule so that he at least can have, some downtime, and he can enjoy his work, and being with people, being with clients a lot better when you can get a nice downtimes.
right.
And even though, yeah, we love our work, we love what we do for people, but we do need that downtime so that we can be with people with such an grateful heart, grateful mind, and that we can open for the such a peaceful space for people to step in as well. And if we don't
Yeah.
have that, it's hard for people to step in, And then what you said, like you try to find your mid of being, if working for other people. Would you treat that person the same way as you treat your spouse? I totally agree. I think that if you're mindful with respect, keeping that respect in mind, either he your spouse or not, I think you'll get along very well, because it doesn't matter he or she, your spouse. We all want respect. We want to
Yes.
earn that respect. We want to feel like we are somewhat valued. And if we can keep in mind that, that person in front of us need that respect and deserve that respect, I think it would go a long way, no matter what's going on behind the scene. I think, and that's how I keep in mind with Charles. Like, no matter what, I will always give him that respect. And I remember one time, because we're so competitive, and I almost crossed the line because I think because I feel irritated about what he does, something very mean-spirited, but he didn't know at the same time. So I almost feel like I want to get revenge on him. And I'm like, oh, I should never do that in the public. If I'm gonna revenge on him, I gotta do that behind closed door.
Private.
Yeah, yeah. And I remember thinking like, oh,
It's funny.
I almost like caught myself like making myself even look worse. Like people doesn't know where the context coming from, and we might have a valid reason to do it, but outsider they don't see that. So I always have to watch myself, even though, like, oh my gosh, as many times that I just want to get him, I just have to, I have to hold my tongue.
Right.
Yeah, it's like that. And I think that a lot of spouse have, probably gone through like that. And congratulations on the 35 years marriage, because you have to know that, um, and then plus I know that you guys have God as the center of your marriage, and that's helped a lot with
Yes.
bringing your marriage, your bond, and your it the purity of your marriage to grow stronger as you age, together. And the sad part in our business is that we see a lot of relationship who marry for 30 some year, and they just kind of like let it go, you know just let that go, and that would break my heart because for me, like, I'm fighting for that unity, marriage, family. When I know how hard it is to have a broken marriage, I know how hard it is not to have children suffer when family are falling apart,
Right.
marriage are falling apart, even if they're your age, divorced at the older age, your grandkids doesn't have any role model to look up to and say, wow, I have no hope. If I'm going to marry, invest my 35 years together with someone, and then there you go, 35 years of marriage go out the doors.
Yeah.
And that's like you basically put a big dent for the next generation, not seeing hope in family and marriage.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so because it's still, we all know in any relationship, whether it's marriage or in a business or any of that, is there are always good days and bad days. But I
Hmm.
think exactly that is if at the end you like the person that you're spending time with, um,
Hmm.
that you'll have ups and downs, but just still try to push through to keep that friendship and that team, that love, that camaraderie. But it does. I know many families that later in life that had made changes or gone separate ways, and there's still such a trickle effect of that. And I hope that um, I hope that we can be some type of example or role model. And I'm sure our kids, with witnessing things, you learn from things too of what you don't want to do, by watching and with those role models. But I still think just, yeah, when others see that you don't just cut and run, you you give it your all and you figure it out and you work through it and build over or but talking about with you and Charles, with so many years of doing things, Mike and I as well in business also, because even with not working for him, being still some type of support or as a spouse, being trying to give support and cheer them on or encouragement, many failures, many ups and downs, and many whatever, and you have to still allow grace for that, with each other, because certainly we've made, each of us our own mistakes along the way, but there's still nobody on this earth that I trust more than my husband. And so
Hmm.
when I
Hmm.
think about that, I don't, like, I feel with all my heart like he is such a man of integrity, a man of God, and just how he
Yeah.
treats people and talks like he would always choose what's better for someone else in any situation
Yeah.
versus what's better for him. And I have
Hmm.
seen that for years. So I think
Yes.
part of that too was it was aligning more with, I feel like, how I carried myself in the business world as well. I was always looking for what was best for the other person. Um,
Hmm.
and I never really paid attention completely to what he was doing. And I think just as I've matured too, and with doing things, I realized, you know what, so much of what we want for other people aligned. And it just did, God's timing is everything. And it just, started laying things on my heart for me to be more open for that. But I just think it's such a nice, transition for us into this next chapter in our lives too, to be working
Hmm.
together and on that page and setting the pace um, and being together because we've spent so many years running in opposite directions.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so it just, there's some contentment in that too, of running in the same direction at least now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Look at, I mean, right now, right? I'm traveling with him all over. I go to different national park with him, but I get to meet the people, but then I can get to choose to stay, in the hotel, or he can go to the meeting with the people. But I choose to go there with him just to give that moral support. I could just choose to just stay, back and enjoy the resort. It's up to me to
Right.
choose to do that. But most of the time, it's just because I just felt like he needed that sidekick, and he needed some support. There's some blind spot he might not see, so I'm
Right.
there to give him that kind of support, not to tell him what to do or anything, but to be able to say, "Oh, I have seen you doing this very well, and I see that you can actually can a little bit alter your presentation this way a little bit, because the way I listen from their understanding, you might seems like in the gray area, kind of give him this
Yeah. A
feedback."
different perception of it.
Yeah. Yeah. So that is so good. So that's why I'm there with him. But, and a lot of time I felt a lot more safer for him, and if I'm there. It's just
Right.
because sometimes when he drives, especially when we were in the early years of building our business, he travels so much, in the car, and he sometimes didn't have a lot of sleep, 4 or 5 hours of
Right.
sleep, and he would like nod off, and I'm there. I'm kind of like, hey, get up,
Yeah.
I'm gonna like elbow him and keep like talking
Right.
so he can stay up. So I do a lot of that in the early years. Just I don't like to drag my kids there, but it's just one of the things that I do was just to make sure he is safe. And is that
Right.
from love or from whatever? It's just I know that I truly care about that man.
Yeah.
I want him to be safe, and not just in terms of building the business itself. I know that this is what he loved to do, and so that's what I choose to do with him. If you ask me at the time, do I like it? Maybe not, but but it's when you love someone, you do the tough things that eventually led you to somewhere that are more better for your life. And in return, I learned a lot about myself. Who am I at that moment when that person needed the most, right?
Right.
So, and now we get to enjoy, our 5 week, vacations coming up. And I do a lot of background work. So I just run the payroll, and I check on, compliances, and I check on our employees, how their performance go. I don't deal much with office work as I used to. So I delegate a lot to, Miss Catherine and other people, and Dominica, of course, assisting him with a lot of things. And then hire Perlas, she did a lot more now. And then, with Brett, we help with simplify a lot of system in there as well. So we've been, working to get our life a lot better than before. So I feel like so blessed to even like, wow, we get to do this. We get to be so free to make
Yeah. To take a breath.
decisions.
But you've laid the groundwork for years, though. You know what I mean? So it's so wonderful at that point in being able to delegate. But for so long, you didn't have all of those
Mm-mm.
people to delegate to, and you were doing all of that with him.
Yeah.
So it makes us happy from the other side of things, though, to see you and Charles with one that as your business is growing, but some of those things you are doing and that you are delegating because it's so deserved. Um, you have to reap from that too, and even doing that. But you are training up such wonderful young people in this business that is so inspiring to me too, is I get excited about a whole nother generation of being educated in this way for themselves, but how the trickle effect of their
Mhm.
knowledge and how many lives they can touch that can really help change America, and how people for so long, it just seemed like it was status quo for everyone to just live beyond their means and worry about it tomorrow or not worry about it at all. And we see
Mm-hmm.
the effects of that all the time, with people and with how just how upside down they get in their finances. And it's exciting to be at these meetings or training or calls or just the support staff you have, though, to see the youth with it. I love that. Like, I want
Yeah.
that so much for other people's families. And still with even trying to do that with our own children of setting different examples, because we all know sometimes our own children hear things differently from us than from others, and just hoping that they keep seeing these examples. But it fires me up, though, when I see the team you have and so much knowledge at such a young
Yeah.
adults, that they're going to
Yeah.
be incredible. They're already
Yeah.
incredible, but I just can imagine what their futures are going to be and how
Yeah.
powerful. So that
Yeah.
stuff too, that just motivates me and gets me excited. I love to see um, what they're doing and how much their lives are changing and growing too.
Yeah.
So it's for me, it's just perfect timing. It's right where I need to be, I think, and want to be. And now I'm just playing catch up with my own, personal development and understanding of um, what is happening in this type of business. But I
Mm-hmm.
already, when I look back even 6 months ago and what I was so intimidated by, that I have learned, that makes me a little more confident, I guess, in knowing that I can continue to learn and pick up more and be even more of a support for Mike,
Mm-hmm.
which then in turn gives me more freedom. Because if I can handle
Mm-hmm.
stuff and handle it at my pace and independently and still support him, then I working at my own pace gives me a lot of
Yep.
freedom. So I like that too. I've always worked with people, but I've worked very independently with what I
Mm-hmm.
do. And I can see how I'll still be able to do that once I learn more. I'll be able
Mm-hmm.
to still, manage myself and do those things. And I've always had an appreciation of managing myself and
Mm-hmm.
my time management and everything else moving forward, and getting done whatever I need to get done. But then when I'm done, being able to do other things, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's for myself or for others, but having that control over my own time. So
Yeah.
I see the potential in all of that too.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah. Thank you so much for that acknowledgement, especially noticing that our staff are young and they come into our firm literally. Oh, I can share about each and every one of them. They are so dear to my heart. I love, and I just want to love on them. And I am also very tough on them too sometimes, but it's
yeah,
tough and love at the same time. And I get to do that. And then Charles would come in and do his tough thing. But then at the same time, we don't shy away from tough conversations. And I think that when you love someone, you have to correct them and you
right.
give them tough conversation with love. And that's what we were able to do with this younger generation.
Yeah,
And that's including my own daughter. She
right.
grew with, even though with us, but she grew and see all these younger generation around her, how they love on each other, and how they love the business, grow into loving the business, and she was just getting fired up with them as well.
Yeah,
It's also making her like so appreciative of what she uh privileged with.
with
And
what
she
she
don't
had. Yeah,
Yeah, and she don't take that lightly, and she's so grateful and she's so graceful already, but she didn't know the impact of what we do until she saw all these lives change around us. And
right.
then she started to do annual review with them, and it touched her so much that she's make it commitment to be a part of, of the advisor and advisor team. So that's one of the things she make decision to do on her own. And I'm just so, I feel so blessed. Like, wow, how blessed I am to have all these amazing young people who have an amazing heart. They might not know a lot yet, but that's our job to give to them. But as long as they have a good heart, that's all that matters. I think
Right.
that's where we're gonna start training them from,
The
right?
rest comes together.
Yeah,
But
yeah. So yeah,
but
that
they
was
know you love them, and it's so obvious to others watching because um, that love is there. Like, we know how much you love them because we can see from their side how much love and respect they have for you and Charles. So it's obvious from the outside watching of the dynamic and the teamwork. Like, it's a team.
hmm yes,
And
yes.
that, yeah, and there's nothing wrong with tough love. I mean, if you didn't care, you wouldn't
Yeah,
care. You wouldn't say anything
yeah,
or do anything, or you would move on, or you would change out staff.
yeah.
And I think you have very loyal, dedicated staff because they know that you're invested in them, in the sense
hmm
that for their personal well-being and growth, and the responsibilities and things that you all, give them and train them up for, it's obvious from the other side witnessing it, what an
hmm
awesome team, and the complete appreciation and love and dedication that all of you have for each other.
Yeah,
It's
yeah. Thank
it's
you.
awesome to see.
Uh-huh. And then that's one of the things that wanted to talk to you about is to see you and Mike come together as a team. And then possibility you might shed the light on your own children and that you welcome Jessica in and hopefully she see the light through that because I love to, to be able to since we already know you and Mike, it's already we know Jessica, and how loved she would be if she would just dedicated her life to
Right.
learn, and from that point on, to see the freedom that she could get, because America is all about freedom, because of the freedom in America allow us to make choices and
Right.
create our own dream, our own creativity come out from being able to have that freedom. In other country, you won't get to do that, you know, uh, because we don't have freedom to do that. So our
Right.
creativity doesn't come out. We don't have the creativity. We don't have, even if we have creativity, we won't share with anybody because we're afraid someone would take it away right away, and then
Right.
that fear will always behind the back of our mind. And so in other country, when you live in a world where you don't have a lot of freedom, there's no, creativity and there's not a lot of freedom to be around. And and if you can create something like that for your children, how amazing is that? That's the next generation that we all can pass on to them, you see. I mean, for us, we don't have other family members, you know, that we like, oh, we're gonna create, legacy besides Charlie's and my grandson here. And then we very fair. If you're gonna do the work, you're gonna get the reward. We're not gonna
Right.
just give it to you. If you don't want to do the work, you're not gonna get it. We're not gonna hand you the legacy of that. We very fair people. We're not just, allow you just to take over something that you never put a sweat and tear to it. So, like I said, it's Charlize is, the legacy would pass on and other younger generation around us that have that privilege to do that. And we want more younger generation to come in and join our company so they can get a part of that piece of that pie as
Right.
well, so, because we build and we do this for them, It's not for anybody else,
It's so
but
true. Yeah, the things that you do because um, you want them to have this wonderful life. But I think we
hmm
know, or at least I think from our generation, we know that if it's something you haven't put some skin in the game, or where you have done some of the work, it's amazing. Yeah, if you don't have an appreciation for what went into creating the
hmm
lifestyle or the business or the whatever, it's there's just so much lost with that too. Or
yeah,
how quickly it can go away because you didn't, I don't want to, like, you didn't earn it, so you don't really care about if you lose it either. And I think, when everybody works so hard to try to help all of these families, you do want to see it to be sustainable generation after generation with doing
uh,
that. So,
yeah.
yeah, but we'll see. We've tried. Jessica's funny because she gets excited about it to an extent. And I do love, like, she rightfully so, she has a great relationship with her dad, and
hmm
definitely has wonderful conversations, and they have very in-depth. And she did, which I know you all know, but I'll say for the podcast, did get her insurance license and
Oh,
the
good.
health license where the state she lives in, it was separate testing. But to do that and take that first step, but then now to try to get her, to do more and actually try to tie in where she's sitting in on meetings with Mike, which with Zoom, it's wonderful though, because you truly can be in multiple areas or live in different states and still get a ton of training and being a part of things. And
hmm
I think just a matter of helping her dial back in again and
hmm
say, even if it's once a week, try right now to tie in and see what your dad's doing and learn more and realize, because she is a wonderful people person, but she's very smart as well, that she could really do great with it, like so many people too that you're working with. But it's
hmm
a matter of her then resetting her priorities of devoting
hmm
enough time to start
hmm
learning and training and realizing that it is something she can do. Because I think there is a little bit of a disconnect because they have seen for so many years how hard and how long it's taken Mike to build his business to this point. But that's where we keep trying to say he can teach you, or all the things he's learned from, he's learned what not to do, or he's learned
Yes.
a better way, or, able to tie into the system that you and Charles have created, and just those kinds of things. But it is neat to where, to have adult children that are at least they're both at the age right now where they are able to start to reflect back of
hmm
what a great life they do have and
hmm
childhood, where I think so often, when they're younger, they don't compare it to anything. And,
hmm
you have your own frustrations with your parents, or if we're too strict, or if we don't let them do certain things. And
hmm
we're starting to see too where they come back with comments or say, or have compared themselves to their other friends and
hmm
the dysfunction of their homes, and every home is
hmm
dysfunctional,
Yep.
ours as well. But I think they realized that they had much more of a solid
Yep.
upbringing and examples and work ethic. They both have a wonderful work ethic. I will say that both of our children do.
That's
They're not
good.
afraid to work. They're not afraid to put in the hours. But it's a matter of certainly we want for them to work smart
hmm
and to do what they're going to do to make money, but to learn from the things. Mike's always like, if I knew at 20 what I knew
hmm
now, or if you all would just do at 25 what
Yep.
I wished I would have known and done at 25, you can be set with
hmm
decisions. So still it's different or harder, I think, for our own children sometimes to want to hear our advice or words. But I
hmm
think they're at least both at the maturity levels that
hmm
they're starting to receive that or ask for it more, because we try not to, you know, that starting to ask opinions more, or take that advice and not one ear out the other and one ear and
Yes,
out the other.
yes.
So
Mm-hmm.
we'll see, but I would love for her to be around the group. And we're trying to
Mm-hmm.
plant
Mm-hmm.
those seeds for December of
Oh,
her
good,
going
good.
to Dallas for the next
Yes.
conference. So we'll
Mm-hmm.
see with that. But I hope for my son, I don't see him being in the business per se. I just hope that he will do and become more of like a client, that he
Yes.
will trust and take the advice that, his dad can give him to help
Mm-hmm.
him just set himself up and teach him, so that then he can teach when he has children those same examples.
Yes.
But it's just neat because I could see Jess really becoming a part of things and being that legacy with Mike, like Charlize is for Charles,
Mm-hmm.
for her to
Mm-hmm.
come in and work alongside him and then take
Mm-hmm.
that on, down the road.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And they'll, they both would be wonderful at that. Charlize is going to be a power, a force to be reckoned um,
Thank you.
with it.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Well, I think it with Jessica see what you guys are doing now, it's gonna fire her up even better. And a lot of time, my son, I don't know if you I never talk a lot about him, but he is gonna be 34 years old this year. And he grew up in the business and saw us struggle and, a lot. And
mhm,
our success didn't really flourish until like the last 5 years, like that we are more freer to spend our money, in the last
right,
5 years. But before that, we like holding on tight because we were like, just in case this happened,
right,
like we hold on tight. And so the last 5 year we were more freer to let go of certain things, and we learned a lot on based on the psychology of money and things like that, or as we elevated our knowledge, our whole lifestyle have been elevated as well. So that been a really great blessing, but also unfortunately, my son didn't really get to enjoy the process that we have gone through because
right,
like he bailed out too soon. And that's where I hate to see, not just children, but I hate to see even spouse have to bail out too soon. We see a lot of advisor who, when one spouse is committed to do the business or dealing with, something that they love, they don't get the support of another spouse, so they bail out too soon and they lose the privilege, they lose the joy, that prosperity that come at the end.
right.
And that's kind of sad for me to see, and I don't want that to happen to just anybody, because anything that is good, it's not easy at all. It takes times, it takes nurturing, and it takes a lot of learning process, not just for the other side of it, it's for yourself, like knowing who you are, as a person, and who are you going to become as a person, when time is tough. And are you fighting, in the field with that person? And if you really know what you want, is that what you want, and to be with that person together, gold and dream and achieving all that together, and that's very important, to know exactly what you want and how to achieve it together, and willing to go through that tough process together. It's it's hard. And then for our children to witness that, and of course Jessica saw that and she's like, we like, no, I don't want to do that. and
Right.
and you can ask Charlize, I mean, she saw us struggle, and the biggest struggle is, I think, with my son. He saw that, and I wish that I can do something different, but unfortunately we can't go backward and change anything. But going forward, I get to embrace the all the mistakes that I have made and make it better, and learning from that to make it better for my grandkids, and then make it better for Charlize. And I get to, to be free to apologize to them without having to feel guilty and shame,
Right.
and admit to all my problem and all the mistake that I make through my journey of building this business. So yeah, I get to do that too. And I was no longer ashamed of saying I'm sorry that I did make a lot of mistakes with them. And
But I don't think
unfortunately,
none of it, none of us would be where we are though without all of those
mhm,
mistakes. And I just always think back to God's timing because we learned long ago, and we were always very frugal because, I think Mike, we made great decisions as a family, even younger, and to not get into debt and do different things. But we didn't have, like we weren't going on vacation, or we weren't
mhm,
buying a new car or doing things. And our kids' childhood, although I think they were in a wonderful, loving home, they weren't, we weren't going on vacation and certain
mhm,
things. And so I think too, for them looking back, they understand because they're living that in their own lives in a way of where you need to
mhm.
save or make decisions or look at how this financial decision will affect the big picture of things. But I go back to God's timing because, He's not, if you can't manage a little bit of money, He's not going to bless you with a lot of money that you can't handle. Or I just think at least that's what Mike and I would always go back to. We're like, we got to keep doing this work and God will bless us.
Yes.
But we're obviously not ready for more yet. We have more growing to do, kind of
Mhm.
thing, and just
Yeah.
keep moving forward. And I guess not giving up, but learning from your mistakes. That's what Mike always talks about in the calls. He's like, I've just failed more
Yeah.
times than the rest of you, which I know Charles says that too. I've just gone out and messed it
Mhm,
up more often than
mhm.
the rest of you. But
Yeah.
from that, it is awesome to have men like that in the business with this young generation, where the things
Yes.
that they have experienced by going out and failing, which has helped them grow in character and everything else, but to try to help make that a shorter line, or the number of failures that these other young people will have to go through if they
Mhm.
just go through and trust, the process. So it's neat because I think they can see both sides of it though when they hear um, everyone talk about the challenges they have gone through to get to
Mhm.
where we
Yes.
are. I think it at least gives them a picture as to the road that you and Charles have paved for so many people to get on that road as well. And you guys are absorbing that. What is that when you draft a car? You guys are up there taking on the the hit, and
Yes.
we're protected. Or when you think about, when birds fly in a V, when the ducks fly in the V, you guys are up front, um
Taking the spearhead. Yeah.
yeah, to
Mhm.
making it to where everyone else can flow or not have so much
So much, so impact.
adversity.
Yes. So much impact of the winds that come
Yeah.
at you. Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. And for us, we get to stand on the shoulder of a lot of success leaders that come before us as well. That was for us to, have those leader that was allow us to stand on their shoulder and learn from them. That was a blessing part for our journey as well. I cannot forget some of those leaders that, giving us that space to learn from them.
Right.
So I'm very blessed to have that. And then that's we can only, pass that same thing to the next generation. So but how do you celebrate your milestone success and achievements with Mike?
I don't know if we have gotten really good at that yet. I think so much of it is still new in the sense of us working together and setting some of that. And because I still have been so much of any what would be maybe downtime, I've been working elsewhere. So I feel like a lot of that will maybe come together where we set some of those reward goals together, even if they're small, to take time that feels like, I don't know what to call it, a mini vacation, to be like, let's get this done this week and, cut out at 3 o'clock Friday afternoon and go do something fun.
Yeah.
So we haven't done a lot of that. And that is something that I feel like even in our married life, we just are always moving forward and trying to do stuff or get stuff done. And I'm anxious too for that part of our age, where we're at professionally, where we're at in our marriage, to reap some of those rewards too, of just saying, look, you know what? We deserve to have this Saturday of unplugging, and let's actually go do something together. Because even when he's not working, we're doing something around the house, or we're catching up on something else. So we need to work on that. But I think we both kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel, that we're setting ourselves up to where there'll be, we're allowing, by working together, for that time to fit back into the calendar, where before, when we were both going different directions, we were both working very many hours. We're now at least working together. I can help relieve some of that burden that he's not doing all of the work, and we can do that.
Yeah.
We're not big yet. I hope to some point, my big dream or goal though, with having financial freedom, because relationships is my thing, is I want to do family trips though, or things to where what we couldn't do when our children were younger, I want to try to be able to do that now, where we plan a trip and our adult children go on and we get that time with them. And we don't have grandchildren yet, but that's my huge dream, is that we're able to do something where, if our kids can't afford that we're still doing some type of family vacation now because we can afford to do it. And have it, even if it's not every year, but to where we create some of those memories with them as adults and their children that we couldn't do when they were little. But I do at least feel they have an appreciation for it, because they know we were still working hard for our family, not just that we didn't want to do those things. We knew it was more important to do what we were doing at that time than to, rack up credit card debt and go to the beach for a week or something. But time goes so fast too. Sometimes I know we can look back and go, wish, would have, should have, could have. But I don't think any regrets though, in the sense that I think that we're right where we're supposed to be right now. And there's reasons and lessons for all of it. But I do hope to, I would love to do, and not even big travel. I just really want to spend time with my immediate family and extended family, trying to plan different things where we all get together more regularly.
That's
and
awesome.
have those, where cousins see each other more, and that we see these extended family having children now, and that they all see each other. Because I grew up with cousins. We spent every weekend together. For always, and we're all so spread apart now that our kids don't see or have those same relationships. And I would love to do it to where we make it to where we can afford for them to come together even when they can't afford, so that they continue to have those relationships with each other. So that's kind of my big dream, is to just eventually start.
Well, I think you should start soon.
Yeah.
Yeah. when you said that, that's part of my dream as well. And you already give me an idea of my next planning vacations for the whole family. I'm going to get my son and his girlfriend, maybe, the package of going on a cruise with us. So cruise is easier to plan, and then you don't have to worry about food and things like that. They
Yeah,
can enjoy picking their own kind of food to eat. And then we can still come together, and somebody already planned for us with that. So I think when you said that, it was like aha moment for me, I'm like, oh my God. So, I would love to do that with my own family as well, you know. And I don't think that we all should wait when it comes to these kind of things. I think that if you wait, you just never know what tomorrow will
right.
bring, right?
What will bring and time goes so fast that
Yeah,
it just goes too fast. So to try to
yeah.
just start, but I will do that as well though. I think yeah, setting that goal and putting pen to paper and you know writing
Yeah.
it down or putting it on the calendar and going from there because I do think it's very motivating and then to actually because it's one thing too to set a goal and put it on paper and then reach that goal, but you get so caught up in life, you move on to the next goal and you don't take the reward. And
Hmm.
I think that there have been many years to an extent of just like, oh, it's still so busy. We'll do that later.
Hmm.
And you don't know what tomorrow brings. Where I agree.
Yeah.
So even yeah, so try to still to set to create as many new memories and those
Hmm.
moments of sharing time together now
Hmm. Yes.
because yeah. So I'm going to
Yes.
let Mike
So,
know that you've assigned that to me.
yes.
So Paul says,
Yes, that's right. That absolutely right. Yeah, and so if you would give, a listener advice on, what would you consider giving them advice on, if they happen to work in a business with their spouse or not?
my advice, and I am still learning this. So when I speak it, I am trying to actively remind myself of this daily. And one, praying for each other, lifting each other up with doing that. But
Mhm.
I think showing grace, um, showing grace and extending grace to each other, but having those moments of because when I was feeling that way even today with Mike, we came back together on it, and I just said, "Look, I know, like, I might have felt like, you weren't coming at me at the right way, but I didn't react the right way either. Like, I want, so I just think a lot of it is not giving up, knowing that you truly have each other's best interest at heart with everything you're doing, but showing grace, but also not, but when something is happening, not being afraid to say, hey, look, whether it's myself doing it or if Mike's scraping at me, to be able to take a second though and saying, okay, I didn't really appreciate how that might have come across. Let's start over. I want us to have a good day. But it just, I think there's just so much good that can happen when you are part of your spouse's team and when you're daily
Mhm.
trying to look out for each other, help each other, or lift each other up, that one, your business will grow, but there'll still be ups and downs. But I still think that our marriage continues to grow as well,
Mhm.
even
Mhm.
after all this time. So I still want to be friends with this person. I still like this person. And
Mhm.
I want to extend that at the end of the day,
Mhm.
that we both still like each other with
Yeah.
it. So I just think prayer and grace
Yeah.
is what I would say. But I need to keep doing that too. So
Yeah. Yeah. So true. Sure. I think that having prayer and grace for each other and that's allow, our spouse to just be free. and their spirits also free to be with whatever that they focus on, and that's God is in the center of what we do and directing our way. We can plan all we want, but I know God is still directing our way,
Right.
and how we do it with love is so important to family out there, because oh my gosh, in the world we live in today, we need that hope. We need someone to have that stand for us out there, right? So with that said, I think that we have a great conversation today about about family and relationship in the business. So, I didn't want to go through questions like I was planning to, is because the conversation just go on so well. So I didn't plan to. I planned to ask you all these questions, but then I'm like, oh, forget about those questions. So
I
we did.
talked too much for you to be able to do that anyway.
No,
So,
we just rolled through, which is good. Which is good. I love this kind of conversation, and I think that we have kept it real and raw for whoever listening to us, so that they could get some golden nuggets from this conversation as well. But I want to say thank you for you to be here and just sharing your heart, with us, and that is so generous of you already.
oh, well,
Yeah, so thank you.
thank you for having me. But it's been such a pleasure to just be a part of your team as well and learn so much so I can be a better part of Mike's team. So it's
Mhm,
awesome that we have a group to tie into, that it's not just he and I.
mhm,
And
mhm.
that's so wonderful too, when you can, even if it's your own business. I mean, Mike has his own business, but to
Mhm.
have, like, we're so blessed to be associated with you all, and the weekly team calls and so forth. So I don't know who will watch this as well, or from what walk of life or what they're doing, but if they're able to tie into another group that is doing similar things, I just think there's a lot where, when there's a whole team of people with similar goals and paths and priorities, that can really just help you on the days when you feel all alone, um,
Yeah.
to keep moving forward and see the positives and learn from everybody's mistakes, with
Yes.
doing that, and not feel like you don't feel beat up then. I think you
Yes.
you feel like, oh, this is part of the process. And it's
Yes.
just, but we are grateful to be a part of your all's team
Thank
and
you.
the big picture. And we hope that through what we do, that we're able to also help your team grow and help be a blessing to all of those individuals. But it's
Mhm.
just, I feel like this is just the start for us, with so much of it, that
Yeah.
I'm excited for what things will look like in 5 years from now. But not
Yeah.
expecting 5 years, taking,
Yes.
not taking for granted how fast time moves, and taking advantage
Hmm.
of and enjoying um, the
The
rewards
journey.
now, and
Hmm.
yeah, with doing
Yeah.
that in the family. So, but thank you for taking the time and just even inviting me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, for you being the absolutely most best spouse ever. And I will, and Mike, Mike is very blessed to have you, to not just supporting him, but also having your commitment and love. That's so honorable, and the respect that you give him. So that is commendable for any spouse out there who who might not have, and or have, but you're showing that example to the other people, and it's amazing, because that's example people need to see. You being
Yeah.
married for 35 years, and still still, hey, we all going through that ups and down together, but
Yep.
at
And
the
just
end of the
making a
day.
choice. Yeah. And daily making a choice
Yeah.
to do
At the,
whatever you've got to do to get through that,
mm-hmm.
day. And
Yeah.
but I think
And
if that's the mindset, is you're just going to do whatever you need to do to keep moving forward, and you
yep,
don't think about what it would be like to just quit on that or give up, it just like that never even enters the equation. You
exactly. And
just
then
keep
at the end of
saying,
the day, you're
yeah,
still very strong together,
yeah,
like that's what we all about,
yeah.
is a faith, family, and relationship in our firm that we build here. So thank you so much.